people that would want to live in Camden. So I think by addressing those issues, you can address some of the other underlying things that you really want to get at, which is we need police officers that live in our community. Because if there's a police officer that lives on your block, there's less likely people think that they're going to get involved in crime. So that sort of thing. But I think that I'm a big believer in Freakonomics. There's an indirect way that you can incentivize people to do a bunch of things, and that's where I would go.
So we're talking a lot about the problem on the front end, which is arresting, pulling people over. That obviously leads to mass incarceration. What about the back end? What could your administration do with ex-offenders and the ex-offender population here?
That's interesting, because if I lose this campaign, one of the reasons I will point to, I'm not ashamed to do it, but I will, is the fact that I spent so much time with ex-offenders in the community. There is not a group of ex-offenders that I've come, and the reason why is because they can't vote for the most part. A lot of them are on parole or on probation or something where they can't vote. They've been deleted from the voting rolls. One of the things that and any of them that you will find will tell you that I've told them to do is, why aren't you guys organized? There's you probably know 20 or 30, you probably have a network, 100 brothers in Camden that have spent some time in the joint, and y'all all have these issues that nobody is addressing. Why haven't you band together? Because at the end of the day, it might be 100 of you guys that can't vote, but you connected to 600 or 700 people in the city of Camden that can vote. And you guys need to use that platform to say, hey, look, we get out of jail, we need SNAP benefits. We need social support in terms of mental health. We need housing support. We need people to get off our back about who we associate with, because we have friends that got in the drug game, and now we're both trying to get out. Now we can't even be in a situation where we support each other. We got family members that have been in and out of jail that we can't be around because we've been in and out of jail. I mean, the ex-offender community, I know it's a big leap, but I want to create a platform where a bunch of factions and groups in Camden organize and start to petition the government for what they need. What works in Camden is not necessarily going to work anywhere else. But since you live in Camden, and since this is the function and structure that we have, you have to organize and get together and start to say, these are the services that we need. I can make guesses, but I've never been to jail. The family members that I've had going to jail, I don't talk to them, so I don't necessarily know what it is that they need. The only way that I or anybody in government is going to understand is if you band together and you petition the government. And my job is to give everybody a platform to organize and petition the government for what their needs are, because they're citizens. At the end of the day, whether they can vote or not, that doesn't stop them being a citizen. That doesn't stop them from being somebody that can be served by what we do in city government.
So I'm going to shift a little bit. We've been talking a lot about mass incarceration and ex-offenders, but one of the other issues that's really important at a national scale and cities are addressing is the undocumented community.
Okay.
So there are policies like sanctuary cities and city policies where cities refuse to dedicate city resources to federal ICE investigations into undocumented residents. There's municipal ID programs, and that works both for the undocumented, but also for ex-offenders who can't get driver's license. Are there any policies or planks of your criminal justice platform that specifically address those communities that feel like they're at risk under the current presidential administration?
I want to answer that by telling a brief story. There are some people next to me, live next door to me, that I believe were undocumented. And it was it might have been 10 of them living in the house. I'm pretty sure they were from Mexico. Hardworking family. Mom stayed home all day, watched the kid, and the other uncles or cousins or whoever they were, They went out, and the father, they went out every day and worked. They took up every parking spot on my block, and everybody in my family was complaining like, "You let these people take up every parking block on your spot?" And it's like, look, man, these people are working. They don't cause any trouble. You know, when they make noise, it's done by 9 o'clock. I wish I could say that for my documented neighbors behind me that blast music all Saturday night. You know, and then one day, you know, people that prey on undocumented people in the city of Camden held the man that lived next door to me, held him up at gunpoint while he was bathing his son. He went to answer the door, and the guy at the door with a gun held him up because undocumented people, they carry lots of money around because they can't use the bank and that sort of thing. And robbed him at gunpoint while he was trying to bathe his son. You know, just the family was terrorized. Luckily, somebody driving by saw somebody standing outside the door at gunpoint, and by the time the cops got there, the people had left, but they had tracked the guys down in the neighborhood, and as far as I know, they caught one of the guys. I don't see myself, just because I had that experience, and what I failed to mention was, before that, my house had gotten broken into, and they were living next door to me. But because they were undocumented and they didn't really speak the language, what happened was they were very, very reluctant to say anything because they didn't want to cause any trouble, or they didn't want the police to be, you know, on them. So I recognize as a leader in the city, there's a delicate balance. On the one hand, if somebody breaks the law, you got to deal with it. But on the other hand, there's degrees of how you deal with it. I think that public safety of everybody is more important than deporting somebody for the sake of deporting somebody. So I would say that, look, I feel like those communities that feel vulnerable to immigration, I feel like Camden should be a place where, as long as they contribute to the fabric of the community in any way, shape, or form, they should be protected. It's not my job to set immigration policy. You know, you can't stop immigration agents from coming to their door, but you're not going to use me. You're not going to use our resources